Hey, in this video, I want to talk about how to get everything done without burning the midnight oil. And I know it's tough. You're a new entrepreneur. You're trying to get more things done. You're trying to make a bunch of money, and I want to cover a lot of those things. I want to cover um, a lot of misconceptions and also a little bit of a process of how to actually get more done. So I want to tell you a little bit of a backstory. In the past, whenever I started a new business, I'll give you an example of when I was a carpenter. I decided to leave my corporate job and I decided to actually start a carpentry business making custom furniture. And in this business, I would advertise and I would ask people what they wanted, and uh, people would come to me via Facebook or via other places, message me, email me, phone me, and tell me to come out to their house to visit them. And I would get the designs, I would go visit them, I would ask them what they wanted, figure out what their needs were, do a design for them in 3D, email that to them, call them, get the thing confirmed. Sometimes even go back to their house to visit them, collect a deposit on the item that they wanted, go back to my house or to my double garage at the time, and make the thing for them. And I got to a point where I was quite busy, and also, some of these pieces were pretty big, like bedroom suites and very big, heavy coffee tables, and built-in cupboards for clients. Sometimes even a kitchen. Sometimes like bigger items, and out of necessity, I just had to find other people. I knew that I needed to find people, but finding good people was really, really difficult. You know, you put an ad out in a classifieds or maybe on Craigslist or somewhere online, and you get a bunch of applications, and then now going through the screening process to find good people, and maybe you even hire one or two, but you know, you, I had this thing where I was just not trusting people to do the work that I was asking them to do, and going through that process of finding good people was a struggle. And so, I wanted good quality people. Uh, I wanted work done the way that I would do it, because as I was doing it myself most of the time, my quality was really high. I was meticulous about how things were getting done. I'm a bit of a perfectionist in my life as well, and so just getting things done the way that I wanted to was a struggle. And also, like a lot of people, especially when you're working with people remotely, is they don't always deliver, right? You don't always see them. You're not over their shoulder. They're not in your office, and so it's a difficult thing. And so as I was in my carpentry business, I had to bring people into my space, into my work, to get them to to work with me, and I used to give them a little bit of a test. But I was still in the process where I was still lacking sleep. I wasn't trusting people. I was getting more and more work, still doing a lot of the things on my own. And the challenge that I had then was I was struggling with my health. I was struggling with the relationships that I had. My girlfriend, wife, at the in those situations, not at the same time. My girlfriend at the time, we were really struggling with our relationship. I was spending less and less time with her, and I could feel that things were just drifting. And I knew that I needed to make a change. I knew that I needed to go through this process of actually finding good people, of trying to delegate work, trying to let go of some of the things that I wanted to do, and be more of a project manager than actually a doer, right? So I was more in front of clients, or I wanted to be more in front of clients, and I wanted to do less of the work, less of the making the furniture, even though I loved doing it. But the outcome of giving a client what they wanted was always something that I was really like, that was what I really wanted to do. And so, I just knew that as part of my plan was I needed to hire and go through that process. I went through a bunch of people, and I'm going through that process right now in my business, where I'm trying to outsource a bunch of services. I'm trying to hire people to do things for me in my business. And it's one of those things where you've got to invest the time to, one, screen them and have a process to screen people appropriately, and two, have a process to manage them appropriately, and have a system or have something that you can manage their tasks, manage their manage your own expectations, manage their expectations, and put things in place where people are able to understand what they need to do. So you have to be clear, and two is you have to give them very easy guidelines of what to do and what not to do. So that was the plan. That was like kind of how I was going through it. And obviously, again, as going through the process, the conflict that I always came up with, the thing that always was a struggle and will always be a struggle, is finding the right people. And you know, I spoke about expectations, and when you're giving people pieces of work, you've got to manage their expectations, manage your own expectations. You've got to let go of the process and give people the time, give them the ability, give them the flexibility to be able to deliver on what you're asking them to do without sort of boxing them in on the creative process. And it's really, really tough sometimes, especially if you're like me, where you want or you've been used to controlling the entire thing on your own. You manage your own time, or you're just relentless at getting things done, and using your list or using your project management software or just pieces of paper that you have where you're scratching off your things. And so, when it comes to hiring people, having a process, and this is basically the conclusion, this is how you actually get all of this done, is one is you have a process to actually hire people, vet them, interview them, and ask them the right questions, give them maybe trial projects, or give them little tasks to do that is lined up with what you need to do, but also that is going to deliver something to you where you can actually understand what their level of commitment is, what their level of quality is, and whether they ask you the questions if things are not clear. Like that's basically how the hiring process happens. And then in terms of your own management, is actually using a tool maybe like Asana, or using a tool like Trello, or using a tool like Basecamp, or any of these project management tools where you can actually list things out, allocate that thing to the person, give them a deadline or a due date, write down all the instructions, or maybe you make a video where you're actually explaining or walking them through the process, training them up on things, writing SOPs, so standard operating procedures for your business to do certain things. And that's going to go a long way, or those things are going to go a long way to actually keeping yourself organized. And then again, as people who are, we're better, people who are self-managed and self-disciplined, we kind of tend to do things on autopilot. If we've been doing things for a long time, we tend to know the process of how to do something. We just inherently know because we've gone through the process all the time. If you're a writer, you know what your process is to write your blog post, or to write a book, or to create a piece for a client. You just know, because you've been doing it for so long. The magic thing is to write that process out, to actually step by step stop yourself as you're doing a piece or doing some work, and writing down what that thing is that you've done, all the how-to steps. And one of the things, obviously, internally you might struggle with is you're giving away your intellectual property. Maybe you feel like you're giving your process away, and giving their process away is going to make you feel weak. But if you have people understand what your process is, especially inside of your business, and maybe even on your client's side, they're going to connect with you more. They're going to understand how to do things. And if you've perfected that process, then you're going to help them perfect that process too. And so when they've got that, they can ask questions, they can collaborate with you, they can help you to improve it, they can help you to ask questions of why certain things are done the way they are. And when they now know what the process is, they can use your template, they can use your process to get things done. And so that's how you free up your time. That's how you end up not having to do everything yourself. That's how you end up not burning your own candle on both sides. And the outcome of all of this is, in my own business, in my own current structure, and even when I was in my carpentry businesses, when I had like 5 or 6 people working with me, and eventually I had a business where I had like 15 salespeople, or 10 or 15 salespeople. I can't remember the exact number right now, but 10 or 15 salespeople, and then we had the process to actually create the furniture. Then the delivery was also other people that were doing the deliveries. And so when you have reliable people and you have a process to manage all of that, to collect payment, to do all of the bits and pieces, then I was able to focus on managing the business and focusing on managing the process, focusing on the results of the business, focusing more on the clients, and be more outward bound rather than internal. And I think that translates into a more calmer environment, a more calmer state of mind. You know, your relationships will strengthen because now you're prioritizing things. And even though I'm recording this video, there are people behind the scenes actually getting client work done. So that relief of, things are still working even though I'm not directly involved is actually a major win. And I'm sure that as I go through this process, I'm going to still be learning, and I'm still going to be, and so will you. You'll go through hiring a bunch of people, and some people will fall off. Some people will just not cut it. Some people will still not deliver, and that's okay. But you've got to set yourself up where you are not the only person in your business doing things. One of the other things that you've got to get to is splitting your work up between multiple people, so that if one person is not available, maybe they're sick, maybe they quit, maybe they, whatever the thing is, maybe they're just not available, especially remotely, you have other people that can take over and still get your work done, still get your deliverables out. And that's what I'm trying to do in my business at the moment as well. And I did this successfully in the past, but I'm doing it right now in my business, where I am physically hiring people, or hiring people for physical tasks, and teaching, recording the videos, making the trainings, writing the SOPs, putting the processes together in Asana, so that I can allocate it to one of many people, and any one of those people can actually help get the work done, as long as they stay on schedule, as long as they're managed, and they're sort of on track with things, and they know how to do what we need to do. It's going to be easier. So that's my advice for you today. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment below, and let me know how you are, where you are in this journey of hiring and outsourcing certain things. And if you need help with Asana, or setting up a Trello, or understanding what any of these things are, ask me questions in the comments. I'll definitely respond to you as well. So with that being said, thank you so much. Hit the follow button on the channel, on the page as well, if you want to keep up to date with my live videos and any posts that are coming out from me. And I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Bye-bye for now.